Hey, hey. Hey, everybody.
Oh, you keep saying hey, and look who appears.
Ah,
It's like saying Candyman.
look what Richard got for
This is like up
Valentine's
a
Day.
Valentine's. It's one of those hey-heys that sit on your shoulder.
Yeah, you could almost do that.
Oh, yeah.
Check it out.
They don't want to be distracting, but.
I know. Well, we're going to be. How does that feel?
Oh, there you go.
Good?
Yep.
Ah! Oh, no. That doesn't look good.
I got a hey on my shoulder. What do you have on your shoulder?
Oh my God, it's so cute. You know, I love these shoulder things, but they don't work on me because I have small shoulders and they just fall. It just doesn't work. But Meredith is saying, hey. Aww.
Nice.
Yeah. No.
What are you doing?
I'm doing this so we're more even.
There.
No, it's not about lining up the computer. It's about making us more even so you see more of me.
There you go.
Man. Boat snack. Meredith, that's terrible. We actually watched Moana on Valentine's Day.
I haven't seen that since 2017.
Yeah, and oh, what a great film. After we finished, I was talking to Richard and I'm like, okay, top 3 out of the new renaissance of Disney films. For me, Tangled is number 1, but then I have a hard time now. Zootopia and Moana are like right neck and neck for number 2, and I can't decide.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Why?
Because Zootopia, you've had such a huge affinity for.
I have, but then rewatching Moana, I just got all the feels, and it's such a great movie, and oh my God, it's just the messages and the beauty of it, and it's gorgeous, and
the songs are
and the
fantastic.
songs, like it's so good.
Yeah, when we first saw Moana, I thought, oh, another animated film with songs. Just go with the story, would you? But the songs are so infectious and so good, and they're short.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not like 5-minute intermissions.
And it was fun to watch the movie again, having known the soundtrack so well, because I play it for work a lot. And so, just to see the animation that went with the songs, it's so cool. I loved it.
Yes, we'll do a retrospective on Moana sometime.
Yes.
For the 20th anniversary.
When did it come out? 2017? Or 2016?
I would say 2017 because it was still not because we saw it on our Disney cruise.
On our Disney cruise, which they always play the latest films. Yeah, so I think it came out summer of 2017.
Yeah, it must have. Must have. So we're 6 years in. So another 14 years, we'll do our 20-year retrospective.
Well, okay, so it's going to be the 10-year in 2027 will be the 10-year anniversary of Moana and the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars.
Oh, yes. I was thinking Disney films. Like, what?
No.
They didn't go with Pete's Dragon. That also came out in 77.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Which answers the question why I never saw Pete's Dragon when I was a kid. Because when Star Wars came out, what else do you need?
Oh, I forgot we can click on things. Hi, Horsehead. And Meredith also. Hey. And yes, Meredith, this is partly why I love Moana so much is because we were on the Pacific Ocean and then we saw Moana on the boat and it was meta. It was great.
It was meta and metal.
Yes. I think she said meta.
Meta, yes.
She did say meta. It looked like metal.
With those exclamation points.
Two exclamation points.
Yes. It was metal. Mm-hmm. Remember that was a big thing in the 80s. Everything was metal.
Yes. I do remember that. And I do have to share.
Why? Go ahead. Okay, sorry. I got a hey on Valentine's Day. And you got?
Look, I got an Encanto. And this is like the awesomest, what is this called? Spirit jersey ever. Can they see?
Yeah.
Look at how cute this is.
Bruno down here and Bruno up there.
And it's not only a Spirit jersey, it's got pockets. It's got a hood. I think this is like so awesome and it's so comfy and I love Encanto too and I wanted to celebrate by purchasing the merchandise. So Valentine's Day.
Yes.
We got the loner Bruno.
Yes.
It worked out. Yes.
It wasn't like because you had a thing for Bruno, just because you like the sweatshirt, the shirt.
I did. I love that it's a Spirit jersey, but it also has the added bonus of the pocket and the hood. It's so comfy. And I just really like the design too, and the color. I love green. I love the olive green kind of colors and foresty green, and it's great. Oh, and Meredith reminds me that I also got a 10K, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we're doing a Bad Batch tonight, right?
Yes, we're doing a Bad Batch discussion.
Okay.
On Zoom, everybody. Yeah, so please join us. We're going to talk like the last 3 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Okay, because last week we had to cancel.
Yeah.
What happened? I forget.
That was a work thing.
Yeah.
It's always a work thing.
Yeah.
Stupid work.
Yes, indeed. We don't talk about Sarah's new Spirit jersey hoodie.
I think he's making a suggestion. Don't stop talking about it. Let's move on.
Yeah, I love it.
No, he's not.
All right. Yeah, so Meredith, you mentioned bugs, and I'm not sure what you're referring to, so let us know. Are you going on a Bug's Life? Is a Bug's Life coming back? Or Ant-Man? Oh, Quantum Mania. I bet she's seeing the movie.
Oh.
Yes, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay. Get ready to be tossed into the quantum realm.
Yeah, we're thinking about doing a Quantum Mania episode next week.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
We won't say any more than that.
Yeah, not this week. This is not our Quantum Mania discussion. Okay.
So, if you're watching here, then if you have any thoughts on Splinter of the Mind's Eye, get them ready.
Yes.
This is the big Splinter of the Mind's episode I've been wanting to do for a long time.
The first expanded universe novel.
45 years old.
Yes. All right, so I am going to here speak.
Talk.
Okay.
Talk.
We're gonna start it out.
Okay.
You okay? How's your?
Oh.
Okay. Not thinking about it?
Nope.
Okay, here we go. This is what you can look forward to on episode 407 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers! What was the first Star Wars expanded novel you read? Well, for many of the first generation.
First expanded universe novel.
Oh, okay. Good. Hey, Skywalkers! What was the first Star Wars expanded universe novel you read? Well, for many of the first generation, it was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, or as some called it back then, Star Wars 2. So, as you think on that, we want to welcome you once again to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski. Now, everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who aided me yesterday when a tooth fell out of my head.
Oh, that was so upsetting.
Yes. Well, okay. Asterisk.
Yes.
Wasn't a tooth. It was a cap to a tooth.
But it looked like a freaking tooth.
Yeah. As I'm sitting there eating soup of all things, it
And
was something in my mouth. And
less than an hour before we were supposed to
record. Yes. Which is why
episode.
we didn't record yesterday, because I was at the dentist under excruciating pain.
Yes. And so there was no way we were recording yesterday at all. So thank you guys for bearing with us. I know we changed the recording time many times.
And the dentist would not let the recording happen while I was under the drill and knife and hammer.
No.
So yeah. Normally when I'm at the dentist, it's not that long. So I loop the scene in The Empire Strikes Back in my head where Han is being tortured on that rack where he's being electrocuted.
Ouch.
Exactly.
Ouch.
I play that in my head and I displace my pain into Han and I can have an out-of-body experience. But this procedure yesterday was so long, I couldn't loop that scene enough in my head. Yeah. So if you can avoid dental work, please do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
brush your teeth every
Yeah, I can't even think about it. And as I'm laying there, not only am I thinking about The Empire Strikes Back, I'm also thinking of Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman. When they want to torture him, they bring in the dentist.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
All right, so that was cathartic.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me vent that, air that out, and thank you to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who took me in and made sure I was all okay when I got home from the torture center.
That's right. That's what I'm here for. Lay you down and say, "Why are they doing this?" They never
that
even asked me any questions.
that was the first thing I said when I walked in in the
Oh.
house. I feel terrible.
And you looked terrible
Oh
too.
my goodness. Oh,
Oh,
I I couldn't believe what just happened. But you know what? Let's move on because
let's move on.
I can't think about those sounds and that pain anymore.
Let's move on because you have reached your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. So it's time, and Richard, you get one too.
Oh,
It's time for your weekly Wookiee hug and a little sprinkle of pixie dust.
good because I really needed that.
Yes, and that will make everyone feel better, including you. And this is for our family of Skywalkers. Now, coming up on this episode, we celebrate the 45th anniversary of the first novel in the expanded Star Wars universe, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. We're going to go over the story. We're going to read some passages of the book that would never pass the story group today. And we'll tell you how this book has impacted the future of Star Wars and its legacy.
You'd be surprised. Now, we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world or on the Galactic Star Cruiser. And best of all, this service is free. That's right, free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
We are recording this We are recording this from Long Beach, California on February the 16th, 2023. So what happened today in Star Wars history?
So glad you asked because we have many birthdays. Many birthdays happen on this day. Let's begin with a happy 78th birthday to Jeremy Bulloch, who was born on this day in 1945. Not only not only did Jeremy play Boba Fett in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he played Lieutenant Shekel in The Empire Strikes Back. He was the lieutenant that was holding Leia back when she was yelling, "Luke, it's a trap! It's a trap!"
Oh, wow.
That was Jeremy Bulloch as the Imperial commander. That actor didn't show up that day. Why? I don't know. So they said, "Hey, Jeremy, you fit a lot of outfits.
Yeah.
Wear this outfit."
My God.
And he also played Captain Colton in Revenge of the Sith. But most of all, his biggest credit is being the very first celebrity guest we ever had on Skywalking Through Neverland.
Yay!
Yeah, we recorded his interview at Star Wars Weekends in 2014, yeah. And we were so nervous and so excited.
Oh, we had a 10-minute slot.
I don't think we had even that. I think we had like a solid 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the nervous part. Like,
that was.
There's Jeremy Bulloch. I've been wanting to talk to him since 1980, and you're giving me 7 minutes.
It was really cool though, and we had we were in this backstage VIP area.
Yeah.
And then James Arnold Taylor came waltzing in, and we were like, "Oh!" It was so cool.
Jeremy was so much fun.
Oh,
he was so much fun, and he just loved to talk about Star Wars.
It was fun.
All right. Also on this date in 1962, well, we got to wish a very happy 61st birthday to Doug Chang.
Woohoo!
I know. He is the Academy Award-winning concept production designer. He is the Academy Award-winning concept and production designer who worked on very many Star Wars prequel films and sequel films and standalone films and TV series, Galaxy's Edge, and one of the nicest, most humblest men you could ever meet.
We also saw him at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Yes.
At the ABC commissary.
Yes.
He was eating with his family, so
yeah. And when he got up,
yeah.
we all stood up and we all applauded.
And clapped.
And he was so humbled by that.
Yeah.
And we met him at the Galactic Star Cruiser press event.
Indeed.
And it's like, dude, you designed the new Star Wars. How are you this humble? But yet he is. And we want to wish him a happy 61st birthday. And guess who else turned 61 today?
Dan Madsen.
Our good friend Dan Madsen. Now, not only did he write the foreword to Today in Star Wars History Part 2, but he was also the president of the official Star Wars fan club and the founder and publisher of the Star Wars Insider magazine from 1987 to 2002.
Wow.
So he picked up fandom where Craig Miller's Star Wars fandom left off. Dan Madsen picked up that lightsaber and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to thank him for the modern Star Wars fan community.
So he was in charge of the Star Wars Insider when I was reading it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. He did a lot for Star Wars and Star Wars fandom.
Awesome. Dan is such a doll.
Yeah. And he was also a part of our Fandom Through the Generation panel at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim last May. So if you haven't seen that, oh my God, it was so much fun. Craig, Dan, and Matt Martin on one panel. Yeah, the founders of Star Wars fandom, past, present, and future.
Yes.
All right, with that, now let's go into things we want to share.
First of all, our new book we've been working on, you may have seen sprinkled on social media that I've been doing the illustrations for this book. It is called My Star Wars Fandom Journal, and we have an update. We are in the finishing stretch. Well, we've completed the cover design and mostly the whole book, and we are submitting this week to Amazon Publishing for a proof copy.
So as soon as we're done with this recording, you're going to go back to that computer and try to get all your notes completed.
Yes.
So that way we can hopefully submit it today.
Yes. Yeah. And you'd think submission would just be, oh, bloop, uploaded. No, it's like 4 hours. It's a 4-hour process, but it's fun. It's fun. It's very exciting. And I hope you guys have been liking the illustrations I've been doing. I've been having a lot of fun doing those.
Oh yeah. It's been taking you a couple of weeks now.
Oh yeah.
And it shows, because I think it's one of the most professional looking Star Wars covers, even going to the official Star Wars and Disney published books. This ranks up there above all of them. And I'm not just saying that because you're right here and you're my sweetie wife, but it's that good.
Maybe next week we'll share the full cover with all of you guys.
We added some more characters.
Yes.
Who'd you what? I didn't say anything. Now we're gonna ask you, what title do you prefer? Okay. We're going with My Star Wars Fandom Journal, but then again we thought, maybe keep it branded with Skywalking Through My Star Wars Fandom. So Skywalkers, weigh in, please. We want to know what you think. So either My Star Wars Fandom Journal or Skywalking Through My Star Wars Fandom. What title do you prefer? And now that we're putting the final touches on this endeavor, we're already working on our next endeavor. and that is the Kindle edition of Today in Star Wars History.
Yes.
Because there's so many new entries since we published it just a couple of months ago. But now we're going to do a whole big updated, and we're going to put it on Kindle.
Ooh.
Yeah, so already working on the next creative endeavor. Wait a minute, hold on. Glenn Stein says in the Sky chat, I prefer the second, but I think you should use the first.
So the second one is the Skywalking.
Yes, but he prefers, but he thinks we should go with My Star Wars Fandom Journal,
which is like kind of spells it out for you.
Right.
Which is kind of where I'm at, but I'm kind of there because I've already done the cover, and I would have to like do a whole new cover. Well, not a whole new cover. I just changed the title, but yeah, that still requires, but that's fine.
Okay, but now Meredith is weighing in saying the second, which is Skywalking Through My Star Wars Fandom.
Right. Maybe we should put a poll out.
Before we submit it later on today.
Well, honestly, we could submit two and get the both proof copies so we can see.
All right, but you know what? Let's maybe put a poll out when we're done recording.
Yeah, okay.
Because now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah. Well, so also it's going to be skewed a little bit by the people who listen to us. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Glenn says the first is more appealing to the non-Skywalker audience, right? It has a larger audience base, I would think, with My Star Wars Fandom.
Right, but Skywalking is branded.
Yes.
And we're still saying My Star Wars Fandom.
Yeah, I know.
And if you're a not if you're a non-Star Wars fan, first of all, what's the matter with you? And second of all, you wouldn't be picking up a book like this, right?
Mm,
So yeah, we'll put it out on Facebook later on, see what happens.
okay, I like it.
All right, now we have something else to share.
Yes. So Run Disney races are coming back to Disneyland in 2024. And this was first announced at the D23 Expo. And we have since learned that the Disneyland Half Marathon is returning January 11th through 14th of 2024 to Disneyland Resort. Now, there haven't been any other races announced at Disneyland, okay? But I'm assuming there will be. And since there hasn't been a Run Disney race at Disneyland since November of 2017,
A lifetime ago.
there was a huge pent up demand, not only from the locals here on the West Coast, but also those runners who want the coast to coast medal, which you can only get if you do a half marathon in Walt Disney World and at Disneyland Resort. So for the past 5 years, you haven't been able to get that medal, the coast to coast medal.
Right. Now what was up with those virtual races? Did you follow those?
Oh, yeah, I follow them and they were available. You could purchase the virtual races. In fact, Russell Flores did a bunch of these. And you'd get this box which contained your medal, it contained your shirt, and I think your bib, like a race bib, right? And then you just put in, I think you put in online, oh yes, I did it, you know. So you had to be aware and what is it, monitor it yourself, basically.
It's based on the honor system.
Yes.
So basically you paid for the
Yes.
paraphernalia
Exactly.
without doing the work.
And I think it was like $99 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I mean, not bad considering the 5K is like 108 or something like that. Like
For this year?
the actual,
The actual,
like
okay.
going to.
Yeah, I don't want all the prices.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Sarah's gonna do this by herself. I'm gonna sit this year out. I think my running marathon days are over.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Meredith, did you run these virtual races? She says the early ones had a printable bib. That would make sense. Yes. I have seen these cool boxes though, like people have been unboxing. You can probably find unboxing videos on YouTube and see exactly what's in these fun virtual boxes.
For $99, I want them to print it out for me.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. All right. Oh, okay. Horsehead says, I've enjoyed volunteering along the course in cosplay and getting Disneyland tickets as a bonus. Yes, that is a huge bonus for volunteers. I think you had to do like 2 6-hour volunteer sessions in order to get a free ticket to Disneyland. Something like that. All right. That was before. I don't know what the rules are now, but yay. We always enjoyed seeing those cosplayers. Oh, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. I wasn't sure who you were. Okay. All right. Well, so just so you guys know, the races that make up a Run Disney weekend are the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, a challenge, which includes both the 10K and the half marathon and an extra medal because you signed up for the challenge. And then they've added this to Disneyland, yoga in the morning in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle, which is super fun. And all of these happen on consecutive mornings, which is why this half marathon weekend is January 11th through 14th. So there you go. And
usually they happen over my birthday, which is January 16th.
Yes. It just happened the weekend was right before your birthday this time. Yeah. And usually it's the Star Wars half marathon that's on these dates, but they've changed it up now.
So now it's just the Disneyland themed Disneyland race.
Yeah, so you get lots of interesting costumes all over the place. Now, in a cruel twist of fate, the signups for this Disneyland half marathon in 2024 were at 7 a.m. on Valentine's Day.
Come on. Who's you know who decided that? Someone who's single.
I was so annoyed because it's 7 a.m. over here on the West Coast, which is where this half marathon weekend is happening. And so I got up at 6:50 a.m. and I was on the computer and nothing happened. Nothing happened. I checked Twitter. I checked Facebook. I'm like, what's going on? The queue did not even open until 7:15. So already I'm annoyed. And then the races started to sell out within the first hour. And like any Disney thing, you had to get in this queue, you had to be assigned a random number, and you just had to wait. So at first, my wait time was more than an hour. Then it went down to like 46 minutes. And finally, at almost 8 a.m., I was able to get in the queue and choose my 10K race. So that's what I'm going for. I'm going for the 10K. I'm not going to do the full half marathon. I don't want to put my body through that quite right away. But at that point, when I got into the queue, the Dumbo Double Dare Challenge was already sold out. That's where you get the half marathon and the 10K and the extra medal. And the yoga had sold out, which I was going to do the yoga too, if that was available. And I heard from a lot of Run Disney friends that many could not get the races they wanted. They couldn't get in the queue. The thing pushed them out when they were trying to make a payment. Ugh, it was so sad.
Wait a minute, was Disney saying, no, we don't want your money, no thank you?
Yes, like things like they would like
That's not the Disney I know.
I know, and I actually that almost happened to me too, because I like pressed okay, and it like was a while before it gave me the confirmation. I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. But luckily it went through and I got my 10K race. So woo! I will see everyone that Saturday morning of 2024 if you guys are running the 10K.
So why are they doing this 11 months ahead of time?
I don't know. Usually it's 8 months or less. So I guess that's just the range they've done. So yeah.
And I'll be here on social media cheering you on.
Yes, you will.
Glenn says, I did the first virtual Star Wars and it counted toward the Kessel Run.
Oh, sweet.
And that's where you run races on both coasts.
Awesome.
How did that count toward your Kessel Run?
I don't know, but
Maybe
that's nice that they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's maybe for something coming up, like, okay, you're grandfathered into the Kessel Run since you did this already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that's good to know.
All right. With that, now let's go back way, way back to the beginning of the Star Wars expanded universe. All right. Who's got their copy? Who's got their copy of Splinter of the Mind's Eye ready and available to read along? This is my version. Oh. No.
Oh, I'm gonna have to touch it later because I have to
No.
read passages.
Oh no. This is gonna be a very hard episode.
So, what happened on February 12th, 1978 in Star Wars history?
Splinter of the Mind's Eye was published 45 years ago. We got the very first novel to expand the Star Wars universe. Now, asterisk, the first original stories took place in the Star Wars comics in October 1977.
Okay.
So we're just going to talk about the novels.
Okay, sounds good.
So needless to say, this novel is non-canon. But in 2008, the Los Angeles Times listed Splinter of the Mind's Eye as one of the most essential works of the expanded universe.
Interesting.
Are you scratching your head? Well, we'll go into that in our legacy section in a few minutes.
I mean, I can kind of understand that, but yeah, I'm excited to hear more.
Now, Splinter of the Mind's Eye was written by author Alan Dean Foster, who had previously ghostwritten the novelization of Star Wars, titled Star Wars From the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. Now, if you notice, this subtitle was not yet Episode 4, A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another asterisk, Alan Dean Foster wrote the novelization for The Force Awakens.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure he got that job because he was already a big person in the Star Wars community, yes, but he wrote the novelization for J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films.
Oh, yes, okay, got it.
Now, the amazing cover art was done by Ralph McQuarrie. Now, look at that. We could spend a whole episode just talking about this cover art. You have Luke and Leia in the foreground. They're down on their knees.
Yeah, Luke is trapped.
Luke is trapped underneath a boulder, and in the distance, in the shadowy distance, is Darth Vader.
But in between the two is the Kyber crystal.
The red kyber crystal, yeah. And it looks like Darth Vader, he's reaching for something, which could only
Mm.
be his lightsaber. So Luke and Leia, oh my, if I were you, don't make plans for the rest of the day.
Leia is also reaching for Luke's saber on the ground,
Which was
which is
huge.
foreshadowing.
Yeah. And the fact that the background is these foggy trees
Mhm.
just makes it that much more suspenseful. What's going to happen? And you've noticed Darth Vader, he's got the high ground.
He does.
Oh, there's so much happening in just this cover. Now, why this is not made into like posters?
Mm.
If this were made like a big giant mural that sold for like $100 or more, here's my credit card. This is just such a beautiful, beautiful painting. I would say it's Ralph McQuarrie's finest because there's so much going on. Sarah, what do you think about this?
So I'm almost afraid to say because you're like so into it. But like I always felt this cover was a little dark and too mysterious for me.
Well, good. That's the intention.
I know it is, but it's too dark. Like give me some colors. Like all those covers we talk about on classic Marvel Star Wars comics, which are like bright and also it's interesting that they just show the backs of the heads of Luke and Leia, whereas like Heir to the Empire, say that novel had all the heads of all the people like right there pulling you in.
Well, he had to pull you in because that was the reincarnation of Star Wars fandom. So they had to show you all the familiar heads.
Right.
At this point in 78, Star Wars was already a huge, huge entity. Even when this book was being made in 77, I think Lucas wanted to really err on that side of noir.
Yes. Well, that he hit the mark.
Yeah, and look at right in the center. The focal point is what?
The splinter of the mind's eye. It's the Kyber crystal.
It's the red Kyber crystal.
I do like that. I do like how the focal point is there and Darth Vader as the shadow. So I do like that looming. I just feel like Luke and Leia, they could have done something better. But now having read the novel, because I read it over the past week, this is a painting of the final climactic scene.
So, spoiler. But they don't show you what
it's right
happens.
Before. Yeah,
right.
It's right before. Right. It's like the beginning of that climactic scene.
And there's no question as to who are those two characters in the foreground because we have Luke's long, shaggy blonde hair and Leia's princess buns. The hair buns.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not my favorite cover, but I know.
I'm glad I didn't know this until right now because if I'd known this beforehand, this would have been a whole different day.
Okay.
All right, now let's talk about the origins of Splinter of the Mind's Eye because this began with story discussions with George Lucas and it was written while Star Wars was still in production. Think about that. Star Wars wasn't supposed to be a film that would make more than $10 million, but Lucas is already thinking. He's thinking spinoffs. He's thinking continuations.
Oh yeah.
And it was in Alan Dean Foster's contract that Splinter of the Mind's Eye may be a film.
Yep.
Imagine that. A low budget film in case Star Wars was not a big success. So that was his one direction, Lucas's one direction to Alan Dean Foster. Make it like write it as if you're gonna film it, as if we're gonna film it, but with a very tiny budget. Now, one aspect of the novel every fan noticed was that Han Solo is nowhere to be seen. He was in the comics, but not in this book, which to me made sense because I'm thinking, okay, the comics are Han and Chewie's adventures, and the book is Luke and Leia's adventure.
Okay.
I never questioned it, or it never rang in my head as, oh, wait a minute, I need the whole cast here. This is just not Star Wars.
Okay.
Now, Alan Dean Foster said in a 2015 Yahoo Movies interview, he says, at the time I was writing Splinter, Harrison Ford had not committed to any further participation in Star Wars. Hence, I was specifically told not to use the Han Solo character, and without Han, it didn't seem logical to have Chewie in the book either.
Mm.
So something about that just didn't ring true to me.
Oh,
So
really?
because there's always been a big there's always been a big conversation about Harrison Ford's contract with Star Wars. He was signed on for two films.
Okay.
But here, Alan Dean is saying no, he wasn't contracted to do anything more than Star Wars. So I asked Craig Miller, who was working in The Empire Strikes Back publicity, hey, what's going on? Do you remember anything about Harrison Ford's contract? And he was saying, to the best of his remembrance, yes, Harrison Ford was just contracted for two films, Star Wars and the Star Wars sequel, but Harrison Ford had always said that he was contracted to do the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh.
So wait a minute, doesn't that count as a sequel per se? But back then contracts weren't written ironclad like they are today. So in his contract, it did say that he's got to participate in any kind of TV publicity. Ah, do you see the loophole there?
Yes.
So the Star Wars Holiday Special slipped into the Star Wars on TV publicity.
Yes.
So therefore, yes, he was contracted.
Oh, wow.
So there is the mystery behind Harrison Ford's contract.
Okay. Wow.
Now, before we move into more behind the scenes fun facts, let's give a summary of Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
All right, everyone, sit back, grab some tea, and listen in.
Or some blue milk.
That too.
Or a Toydarian swirl.
Or some Mimban slug juice. I don't know. All right, here we go. On their way to an underground rebel meeting, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Organa. Okay, on their way to an underground rebel meeting, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia Organa, R2-D2, and C-3PO crash land on the swamp planet Mimban. Luke and Leia enter a secret energy mine and are in the local bar when they meet a woman named Hala, who, sensing the Force in Luke, shows them a splinter of the Kyber crystal, a legendary gem of great power that allows those already in touch with the Force to enhance and amplify their psychic powers. She offers them help to get off Mimban if they assist her to find the rest of the crystal believed to be at the temple of Pomajima. While Luke and Leia are trying to leave the mine, Luke falls off the walkway and into the mud, pulling Leia down with him. They then proceed to have a mud fight, which calls attention to them, obviously, and local Imperials take them to the jail. Here, they meet Captain Supervisor Grammel, who confiscates the crystal, the shard of crystal, and Luke's lightsaber. They are placed in a cell with two Yuzum. Hala, outside the window, uses the Force to help them all escape the jail, and the group, including the Yuzum, troops off into the Mimban wilderness to find the Temple of Pomajima and the Kyber crystal. But this is only the start of their journey because they encounter some wildlife. They encounter Wandrella, which is a monstrous worm, and it forces Luke and Leia to split from Hala as they are chased to an underground city where they are attacked by Koway natives. The Jedi and Princess are brought back to the Koway camp, where they find Hala has also been captured. To save his friends, Luke fights and defeats the tribe's champion warrior in a gladiator-type battle, and he wins the respect of the natives. As they are welcomed into the group, Luke senses the presence of Darth Vader, because Vader has also sensed the Kyber crystal and is on his way to get it. So we can't have his powers enhanced. So Luke, Leia, and Hala race to the temple to try and get the Kyber crystal before Darth Vader. Darth Vader arrives, and during a confrontation, pins Luke down under a rubble pile. Leia grabs Luke's lightsaber, and the two have a lightsaber duel.
So ahead of its time.
Yes! But she is badly injured, and Luke, who was freed from the rubble by a Yuzum creature in his final breath, resumes the duel, guided by the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi and empowered by the Kyber crystal. Luke severs Vader's arm, and Vader falls into a pit. He is no longer a threat, but Luke can still sense Vader through the Force. Then Luke uses his amplified powers to run a hand along Leia's wounds. all over. Like she has it on her leg, her stomach, her face, and he heals her with these force powers. Luke, Leia, Hala, and the droids set out into the Mimban mists.
The end?
The end.
Wow. Wow. So much ring theory here.
Why do you say that?
Because, well, we have Vader this time falls into the pit, where this time Lucas had written a treatment where Vader and Obi-Wan were fighting over a volcanic pit,
Oh.
and Obi-Wan knocks Vader into the lava.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then we have Luke using his hand to heal Leia. Where do we see that? With Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
And with Baby Yoda.
And Baby,
Grogu.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the Los Angeles Times, they were onto something when they were saying this is one of the most essential Star Wars novels. It really prefaces and foreshadows a lot of what's to come. Now,
did you read this book back when you were
I did, yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember it?
One more thing. Rey had also healed up Ben Solo.
Yes.
His wound. At that point, I think he was more Ben Solo than Kylo Ren. So, okay. You were saying? Did I read this book? Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And I tried to read it for this episode. I got to like chapter 1. Well, I was writing a lot of the notes, so I thought, okay, you read the book, you write the notes for the story, and I'll write all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes, so this book was new to me. I knew it existed. I don't ever remember reading it. I mean, I could have read it in there in all my books, but Heir to the Empire was my first Star Wars novel. So
when I've said in the past that I'm still reading Splinter of the Mind's Eye, so I haven't read a lot of the newer novels, I wasn't kidding.
Okay.
I'm still reading Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's only like, what, 68 pages?
No, it is very small. Actually, it's less than 200 pages, which, I mean, that's a small book.
182 pages.
Wow.
And 45 years later, I'm still reading it for the first time.
Yes. All right. So I have some notes because reading this now, it's very interesting. And there's some things I want to read you, some passages, some things that really caught my attention, being 2021.
Wait, what year is it?
I mean, what the heck is it? Is it 2023?
Yes.
This being 2023. You guys, we lost like 2 years in there. Okay. All right. So first of all, I thought it was really funny. Luke and Leia are in different ships when they crash land separately on Mimban. And in the novel, Luke thinks that Leia is just going to sit in her cockpit and wait for Luke to come and rescue her, which doesn't sound like Leia at all.
It's like, Luke, do you remember nothing about Leia leading up to this?
Yeah.
Do you remember her on the Death Star?
Yeah, the fact that she like found a way out from the trash compactor.
Yeah, took the blaster and said, you boys hold my blaster. Let me hold your blaster while I get us out of here.
Yeah, so I thought that was a little ridiculous. However, she is written to just sit there. So she did just sit in her cockpit and wait for Luke. So I was like, okay. I don't know.
Remember, this was being written while Star Wars was being made, so he didn't see Carrie Fisher's powerful Leia performance.
That's true. I'm just bringing these points.
Oh yeah,
up it's stuff that struck me as I'm reading it. At one point, Princess Leia faints when confronted with the possibility of interrogation, and she brings this up a couple of times. How she basically has PTSD from the probe droid interrogation aboard the Death Star. Now, I like that they tied that in. But I just don't see Princess Leia fainting. Like, like I know she's a princess. Princesses faint, but not Princess Leia. Right? All right. Now, there are several moments in the novel. Now, again, this is before Empire Strikes Back. It's before Return of the Jedi, where we learn something very important about Luke and Leia, which is that they are brother and sister. So this novel is written that Luke and Leia kind of have some feelings for each other. At certain points, they're avoiding danger in the wilderness and bump into each other or land on top of each other, or they have that mud fight, which is so funny. I was reading, I was like, wait, am I actually are they having a mud fight? This is so weird.
Yeah, it brings to mind the scene in Stripes.
Yeah.
The mud fight at the adult bar.
Oh, okay. I only saw that once. All right. But okay, so it's cute to read, but now that we know that they're brother and sister, it's like, wow. It's
Well, even in Empire in the cutscenes, they had feelings
yes.
for each
Yes.
other.
So it's reading a lot like Romancing the Stone.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let me read this for you on page 23 of the hardcover. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. All right, so Luke and Leia are sleeping, and then Luke wakes up. He happened to glance down at his companion's face. It was not the face of a princess and a senator, or of a leader of the Rebel Alliance, but instead that of a chilled child. Moistly parted in sleep, her lips seemed to beckon him.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Oh, it goes
Wait,
on.
are you sure this is Splinter of the Mind's Eye?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No.
He leaned closer, seeking refuge from the damp green and brown of the swamp in that hypnotic redness. Isn't that so funny?
Why am I blushing?
I know, right? And now he didn't kiss her there, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's what we meant by things that would never make it by the story group, Lucasfilm story group right now.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I want to read you one more passage.
Oh no. Do we need to tell all the young listeners to get out of the room first?
Yes.
Okay. Young listeners, leave the room.
No, they don't go that far. Okay. All right. So Luke and Leia are scaling like a cliff face, okay? And they have just made it to like this meter wide section of rock. And so they're like squished together on this section of rock. Luke felt the warmth of the body next to him, lowered his gaze. Framed in the faint light from above, the princess looked more radiant, more beautiful than ever. Leia, he began, I ... More scraping, louder, ominously so. Several rocks and pieces of wall fell from above and shot past them. But breathless, they stayed huddled together, eyes fixed on the circle of misty sunlight above. Okay. Oh, at first it looked like a sooty cloud obscuring the sun when they looked up. Small sounds came from the princess's throat. Luke was completely paralyzed.
To give Luke credit, come on. Princess Leia, she's kind of a knockout.
She is. She
All right.
is. Okay. But yeah, it's so there you go. There's some fun things right there. So yeah, there's my Romancing the Stone moments because that happens several times. There's another time where they're like getting away from like that Wandrella creature and like Luke lands on top of Leia, you know.
No, stop there.
Yeah, I will. I'm not going to read that part.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So also one thing I noticed in this book is that R2 and 3PO are hardly in this at all, except for the opening scene where they all crash land on the planet. And then they're like hardly mentioned ever in the entire novel, even though they're like apparently with the party, apparently with Luke and Leia. Like I don't remember them being there in my head because they weren't mentioned enough, right? And right before the final confrontation, Vader says, so Vader has like come upon them in this cave where the Kyber crystal is. And the R2 and 3PO are waiting outside with their ride, I guess. And Vader basically says, he came in and he says to Luke and Leia that the droids are conditioned to obey orders. I had them turn themselves off. And then they're summarily written out of the story.
Oh.
I know.
Oh, come on.
It's like R2 doesn't come in to save the day. Nothing like that.
That's not the R2 I know.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure R2 was like, hey, wait a minute. I recognize you. Even in that big ironclad suit. I recognize Anakin? Switch off. You droid, switch off right now.
Yes. Okay, so that's like, all right. I wish they would have used them more, but maybe that was a budget thing. Like the more you use the droids.
Yeah, I think maybe Lucas had told Alan Dean Foster, hey, these droid costumes are just not working out. So if we're going to film a low budget sequel, having the droids in the film is not going to keep the budget low.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because we just can't pull R2 on piano wires all that often.
Yeah. Now, one thing Alan Dean Foster does well is take into account Luke's upbringing on a desert planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to read you part of this passage of the fight that Luke has with the Koei native. It's basically a gladiatorial battle. You know, their best fighter fights their best fighter to see who who wins or gain respect or whatever it
it's
is.
very Game of Thrones.
Yes, exactly. So Luke is fighting with this native. And here, this is in the middle of the battle. The hand he feared came down on the back of his neck. It shoved downward brutally hard, so hard that Luke's face plunged into the sandy bottom of the pond. He felt the clean grains pressing into his nostrils. Raised on a desert world, he was about to meet a death damper than any he'd ever conceived of. Meet a death damper. That's hard to say. He was about to meet a death damper than any he'd ever conceived of.
Why haven't they used that in any of the the recent films or novels? The death dampers? That just rolls off the tongue.
It does. So I thought that was cute. I was like, okay, using water against him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So now, Richard, you had mentioned that the comics are going on while this novel came out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And a lot of what we see in the comics is Vader trying to find the name of this boy, right?
Yeah, of the rebel pilot that destroyed the Death Star.
Exactly. So
yeah, and there's another part of the book that contradicts the comics, but we'll go into that when we do the shout outs.
Okay. But I just think this is really funny because in a book, you know, sometimes you just got to exposition things. You just got to get things get straight to the point. You write a sentence and you move on to explain away a whole bunch of stuff. All right. So here is what Vader says when he meets Luke. Finally, he's like confronting them. This is basically what's happening right here in the cover. So Vader is seeing Luke. Luke is trapped. Leia is there. But before they get into the fight, Vader says, "You know, Skywalker, I had a difficult time finding out that it was you who shot up my TIE fighter above the Death Star station. Rebellion spies are hard and expensive to come by. I also found out it was you who released the torpedo that destroyed the station. You have a great deal to atone for to me. I've waited a long time." So in that one bit of dialogue, they explain away like dozens of comics.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And I know this happened like before the comics were written too.
Right. In the comics, it was Boba Fett that alerted Darth Vader to the identity of the boy who destroyed the Death Star. But of course, right now, Boba Fett wasn't even a concept.
Yes.
So yeah, it does what the comics would do.
Yeah.
Where they would reflect back into the past couple of issues just to catch the readers up. So this is catching the readers up in the Star Wars film. This is the kind of stuff that if I read that as a kid, when I did read it, it would really excited me because oh, they're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, in fact, this next passage would also excite you because then Vader sees Leia there and he remembers Leia because the last time they saw each other was
when Vader was torturing her with the mind probe.
Exactly. So he says to Leia, "Do you remember that day back on the station?" Vader mused with deliberate patience. "When the late Governor Tarkin and I interviewed you?"
Oh, that's putting it mildly.
Right? Leia had both hands on opposite shoulders and was shivering as if from intense cold. "Yes," Vader observed, perverse amusement in his voice. "I can see that you do." So he's referring back to things that are happening. So I thought that was fun. That would excite me too. Like if I was reading this novel back right after watching Star Wars, that would be really cool.
Right.
Okay. So I know I've said a lot about how Alan Dean Foster has written Leia in this novel, how she faints, how she waits in the cockpit for things to happen. But he does write one really cool thing, which pretty much negates everything. And that is that Leia picks up Luke's lightsaber and fights Vader. How cool is this?
That is cool. And when they had these spin-off comic books, to see this in action, it was very, very exciting.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm just going to read some of this because it's exciting.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. So Leia appeared to hesitate, then lunged straight at Vader with the tip of the saber. Simultaneously, the Dark Lord brought his own beam up in a lightning gesture to parry hers. But Leia performed a spinning, twisting arc in the air and brought her saber down in a slashing flare of blue light. Energy flashed as it contacted the Dark Lord's armored breath mask. Only superhuman reflexes enabled him to avoid the full effect of the blow.
Wow. Read that sentence one more time. Gesture.
Gesture?
Mhm.
Okay. Simultaneously, the Dark Lord brought his own beam up in a lightning gesture to parry hers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Okay, why haven't they made this into a film right now?
I know.
Yeah, make it into an animated film.
And it goes on for like she fights him off for a good page, and then she gets very, very labored breathe, like fighting
Yeah,
Darth Vader.
of
Ooh, and he
course.
starts cutting her, like he like first slashes her midsection,
Oh,
which sounds a lot
like
like
Padme.
and then he like slashes a gash up her leg and like then her face, and she's just pretty much like very much wounded. And
So it's like a cat toying with a mouse.
yes.
Oof.
Yeah. And that's why she's like all broken, and then Luke comes and heals her later with that kyber crystal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Otherwise, otherwise it like mentions, oh, her beauty is marred by all the things. I was like, oh boy. I thought that was funny.
All right, now Meredith in the Sky Chat says here about Boba Fett. Hey, Boba Fett. No, Boba Fett. Maybe Vader doesn't have to reveal his sources.
I think so. All right, so when Leia is defeated by Vader, then it's Luke's turn. His leg got free, and so
his leg was pinned underneath that boulder.
Yes,
on the cover,
and a Yuzum helps him get free. And the Yuzum had like crawled over, like Vader had killed the Yuzum, he thought, but he didn't. He didn't die.
Which is very, very interesting because the Yuzum, different kinds of Yuzum, turn up later on in Return of the Jedi.
I was gonna. Is a Yuzum one of those that sings?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Does he use like a big furry body?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So in the Return of the Jedi Special Edition, the musical number in Jabba's palace, Jedi Rocks, is sung by a Yuzum.
That's what I thought.
But now the Yuzum in this is Yuzzem, whereas the Yuzum in Return of the Jedi is Yuzzum. So they're two different species.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to find this passage, so hold on a second.
And the Yuzums were supposed to really appear in Star Wars, but Lucas had written them out. Lucas had written pretty much 90% of his script out while trying to make it filmable.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to read one more passage because now Luke is fighting Vader.
Oh.
And I want you to notice something about this passage. Okay. Let's see. Luke felt a wild sense of elation as he brandished his father's weapon. I'm not worried about anything, Vader. Not now. I have no more worries and only one concern. His voice held an unaccustomed hint of conviction. I'm going to kill you, Darth Vader. That humorless laugh again. What a high opinion you hold of yourself, Skywalker. So it's funny. Luke brandished his father's weapon right there while his father is with him. I was like, oh, that's fun. So I thought that was cool.
So nowadays, if this were to be shot now, Vader would be looking at that lightsaber going, that looks familiar. Yep. Where did you pick up that saber, boy? Because as far as I know, that's one of a kind. If it's one of a kind, it must be mine. Then you have the little birds in the back going, mine, 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 mine.
Yeah.
So you got to tie everything together.
You do. So isn't that fun?
That is a lot of fun. Oh, this novel is just fantastic.
It's fun going back to like read this stuff that's so now like outdated now, but at the time was so novel.
Yeah, no pun intended. We all knew that Luke was going to fight Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. So we always had that visual in our head because you have a lightsaber. Where you're going to use it now that Ben's gone? Vader can only fight one person. That's going to be Luke. But now you throw this twist in here. Now Vader is going to fight Leia. Blows your mind.
Super cool.
All right, now let's go into this Yahoo Movies interview with Alan Dean Foster to find out how it all started. This is an interview from 2015.
Okay.
So Alan Dean Foster was asked, what were the origins of Splinter of the Mind's Eye? And he answers, my contract was originally for 2 books, the novelization of the first film and then a sequel book, because George, being a student of Disney, wanted more material in case the movie was a success. Lucas is always thinking.
Yes.
He wanted something out there that fans would be able to enjoy while he was busy making the second film. The only restriction placed on me was that the follow-up novel had to be filmable on a low budget. That's why I set it on a fog-shrouded planet. A lot of the action takes place in the fog or underground, which facilitates shooting with cheap backgrounds. The book originally opened with a fairly complex space battle that forces Luke and Leia down on this planet, and George had me cut that out because it would not have been. And George and George had and George had me cut that out because it would have been just too expensive to film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for many years that it would made a I thought for years that it would make I thought for years it would have made a marvelous made for TV movie. It could have been filmed really cheaply, and then you can stick it in between episode 4 and 5 in an alternate universe.
So cool.
I think this should be an animated film.
That would be fun, yeah. And I just want to see Leia fighting Darth Vader with a lightsaber. I mean, come on.
Right.
I just want that scene.
Yeah, I think the season 3 of Star Wars Visions, let's get
Mhm.
all of those studios to take on a scene from Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Or imagine making a whole film with the de-aging process for Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. I just thinking about it is making me tear up.
Oh.
I want that so bad.
Yeah.
So badly, and it can be done.
All right. Well, Alan Dean Foster was also asked, did the fact that you were mostly left to your own devices make it easier or harder to concoct an original adventure? And he said, one reason that I was able to create what I wanted with Splinter is because there was nothing to contradict it. Nowadays, of course, everything is vetted by committee. And if you get someone's armor wrong, someone will be right there to correct it.
Like the fans.
Yes. So I thought that was a funny nod. And this was 2015, you
This
said?
is 2015, yeah. Oh,
So definitely
he's
the story group.
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on by saying, since I was given complete freedom within certain limits, Star Wars gives you a pretty good background of the whole universe. There was enough there that being a science fiction writer, I can fill in the blanks in certain places. The hope is just to get the book out and then worry about the follow-ups. Which has been Lucas's theory all along.
Yeah.
Let me put something out and I'll retcon it later on.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really worried about whether things match up or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, just do whatever you got to do, but just make it filmable. That was your one direction, and no Han Solo.
Yes. All right. So another sequence that feels different from any of the movies is a battle in an underground cavern where Imperial troopers are massacred by a tribe of aliens. I think this is the Yuzum that do this. Even though you hide a lot of the details between the lines of the book, it's more violent, almost gruesome scene than you expect from Star Wars. So Alan Dean Foster says, George is a very sensitive guy. I picked up on that from the moment I met him. That's why I think the Imperial troopers never take their helmets off. Because if you're seeing people get shot all the time and their faces are contorted in agony, it gives you a very different cinematic vibe than if it's just figures and plastic helmets that all look the same. I don't know this, but I think that was a deliberate choice on George's part to mitigate the violence. Do you want me to keep going? Okay. Even though there's nothing graphic in Splinter, I wasn't as constrained by that consideration. Like cutting off Vader's arm in the climactic fight. Okay. Like cutting off Vader's arm in the book's climactic fight with Luke, his arm is cut off. It bleeds. It's painful.
Now, another asterisk.
Yes.
Because Leia does see the stormtroopers without their helmets, just not in battle.
Right.
But
in the book, she does.
In the book, yes, she does see the stormtroopers. And when the comic book was being written, Lucas said, no, those troopers have got to wear their helmets. The troopers can never be seen without their helmets, because he doesn't want kids seeing that, oh, these are people inside. Now when they're being shot left and right, they're going to feel more empathy for them.
Right.
He wanted them just to be faceless soldiers.
It's kind of like what they do in the Bad Batch a little bit. How, I mean, you have the Bad Batch, and whenever they fight the troopers, they're always using
stun blasts. Yes.
Stun blasts. And it's very clear that it's stun blasts.
And the fact that when in the novel, Luke cuts off Vader's arm, spoiler, and it bleeds, that was a clear indication that there's someone inside of Vader.
Yes.
Because at this point, we thought Vader was a robot, a droid,
He's
as were
more
the storm.
machine now than man.
Yeah, but in Star Wars, we didn't have that line from Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
But we thought the stormtroopers and Vader, they were all droids, because we see droids in Star Wars, they're all, they got metal faces.
Oh, okay.
As do these. So we didn't really know
or connect the dots or something.
Exactly. Yes. So when his arm was cut off and it bleeds, it really gave a lot of fans a lot more to think about.
Oh wow.
And now when we see Darth Vader, it's like, who is that?
Wow. So that was a moment for you.
That was a huge moment.
Well, let us know if that's a moment for you guys, whoever's listening.
All right. Now, one last thing that the Yahoo Movies site had asked Alan Dean Foster in this interview. They asked, what kind of feedback do you hear from the fans about the book?
Can I read it? Should I read it?
Yeah. Sarah, what did he say?
If they're my age or a bit younger and were around when the first 3 films came out, they're generally really happy with it. But every once in a while, you get an email or you'll see a comment from someone online who was born in, say, 1995, and they don't understand the contradictions with the films. The nicest thing I get as far as comments go is that people really appreciate Leia being a strong character in the book. She even picks up Luke's lightsaber at the end, which actually fits, even though nobody knew she was Luke's sister at the time. That was just something I put in there, which is so funny because, as I've mentioned, I was like, okay, she faints. She's waiting in her cockpit. Like, what is up?
And Hala keeps calling her pretty little face.
Yes.
That's her name for Leia.
And she calls Luke boy. Luke boy. Pretty little face. Yeah.
Yeah. And if anyone is going to complain about this, if anyone is going to write Alan Dean Foster and say, hey, wait a minute, this contradicts with The Force Awakens, you ignore a comment like that.
Oh yeah.
Because sooner or later they're gonna piece it together. Like, oh, this was written, it came out in 1978. Oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. All right, now let's move on to the legacy of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Now, there are 2 key elements from the book: the planet of Mimban and the Kyber crystal.
Yes.
Now, the Kyber crystal was mentioned in the original Star Wars script, but was omitted. So for all intents and purposes, it first appeared in Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Right, for the public.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Now, let's start with Mimban.
Yay! We all know Mimban. If you've seen Solo, A Star Wars Story, does it begin on the planet Mimban? Almost, no. But it, we have this fight on Mimban, the mud planet.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so this is when, once Han Solo joined the Empire, he was sent to this mud planet of Mimban to fight the local hostiles. And then he's later imprisoned there and meets Chewbacca on Mimban in the mud.
Yeah, now for a time, Mimban was considered to have an aquatic swamp-like surface in Solo. No. But according to scriptwriter John Kasdan, they wanted to evoke Stanley Kubrick's 1957 anti-war film Paths of Glory and put Han Solo into the most hellish possible war environment. Now, forget that. Mimban is a mud planet.
Well, it's swampy.
You can't get away from that. Yeah. So you can't put it in an aquatic planet like Camino.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, a swamp-like surface is kind of what they encounter in the novel a little bit. Like, it's like there's portions where there's water. The Wandrella is almost like it starts as a path. They're like walking on this pathway with like mud on either side, and it ends up moving, and it's the Wandrella worm.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's kind of creepy.
But when they say aquatic, that means more water than. That's what threw me off.
Okay,
like gotcha. No, John Kasdan, you've got to stick with the source material here. It's got to be an entirely mud planet. That's what they did in Solo. My head, once again, my head explodes on a daily basis, and my head that day exploded because Mimban, they're calling back from Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and I was so excited. And then later on, they called back the Cloud Riders from the Star Wars comics.
Yes.
Oh, this movie was made for me, which is why I love Solo.
It's so fun.
Now, moving on, in the Andor episode Aldani, Cassian Andor says, I fought in Mimban when I was 16, 2 years of it, straight out of prison into the mud. I'm one of 50 that survived. And who did it turn out we were fighting? Ourselves.
Yes.
Which is what Han Solo had pointed out in Solo. Wait a minute, we're fighting the hostiles. We're the hostiles.
Yeah, exactly.
So this wasn't really touched upon when Andor came out. The fact that Cassian had fought on Mimban.
And we know that Solo did too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's lead up to that. Okay.
Okay.
Now Luthen says that Cassian, you came in as a cook, and then you were on the ground for 6 months. Now this begs the question, the tangential question: did Cassian Andor and Han Solo fight alongside each other?
Or know each other?
Okay, let's do some math here, okay? Once again, big tangent.
Oh boy.
Okay, there's 19 years between Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars. We got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm already thinking it's like 5 years removed from each other. But go ahead.
Let's say Cassian is like what, 30 in Andor? Run with that, okay? He's 30 in Andor. So that would put him at 16 years old, roughly 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. So 5 years into the Galactic Empire takeover. Okay, he's 16 at that point, okay? Solo takes place roughly 9 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
So if you go by that time period after Han joins the Empire, because in the beginning of the film, he and Kira are on Corellia.
Okay.
So then they cut to the future, and Han had joined the Empire, and he's on Mimban. So that's about 9 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So after all that, the answer is no. Han and Cassian didn't fight side by side since Andor defected 2 years in.
Yeah.
So he would have been gone 2 years before Han Solo joined the Empire.
That's what I would figure. Okay.
Got that?
I love it. Thank you for doing that math.
That was like a 2 days worth of math.
Aww.
2 days worth of research.
Kevin Toft is showing your head exploding.
All right, let's go on with Mimban and how it popped up in the future of Star Wars. In the art of Rogue One, you'll see concept art used as Mimban as a name for the city that eventually, in the art of Rogue One, you'll see concept art.
You'll see that concept art used Mimban as a name.
You can do this one.
Oh, okay. So now in the art of Rogue One, you'll see that concept art used Mimban as a name for the city that eventually developed into Jeddah.
Okay. I would like to have seen Mimban.
I like Jeddah. I think it's a cool city.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't have it on this desert planet then. Now, Marvel Comics' The Rise of Kylo Ren from 2020 features Ben Solo traveling to Mimban, where he learns of the mind Splinter, which is possibly the Kyber crystal by another name. So once again, all this future Star Wars properties and books and novels they're taking from Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and I couldn't be happier, because you should. It's right there. It's right there. Use it. Now, the name Kyber hadn't been used in the expanded universe outside of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. However, for Attack of the Clones, the weapon used by Jango Fett to kill Zam Wesell was originally called the Kamino Kyber Dart.
Oh.
But it was ultimately changed to Kamino Saber Dart.
Ah, okay. Got it.
Yeah, I can see why Lucas would have changed that, because, hey, Kyber is a pretty big MacGuffin.
Yes.
Let's not just use this as a weapon by a bounty hunter.
Or like a name of, I agree.
Yeah. So Mimban has been used so much.
Well, wow. So a lot of the things in the novel are used, but then the novel itself,
as well as the Kyber crystal, So when the Kyber crystal made its big triumphant return in Rogue One,
Oh.
once again, it's like, oh my god, they are pulling from previous Star Wars material, such as the first Star Wars script volumes, not volumes, but drafts.
Mm.
They're using a lot of that as well as Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Good. It's right there. It's right there. Use it. So you're using the Kyber crystal to power the Death Star. Stop the film. I need to wrap my head around this.
That was so cool. All right. Well, beyond just names and things used within the novel itself has had some spin-offs. So in 1995, there was a 4-issue Splinter of the Mind's Eye comic book adaptation published by Dark Horse Comics.
And boy, when this was on the newsstands, I picked it up so quickly because I wanted to see what was in my head actually played out in this comic.
Plus, you hadn't really finished reading the book either, so.
Right, so a lot of spoilers, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I wanted to see this climactic battle.
Nice. And it was also adapted as a graphic novel by Terry Austin and Chris Sprouse and published by Dark Horse Comics in 1996. And it was updated to fit better with the story that continued with The Empire Strikes Back.
I've got an issue with that.
I want to read this. I want to see what they did. Did Leia still sit in her cockpit waiting for Luke to rescue her?
Yeah, arms folded, looking at her watch.
What the heck?
Yeah, kind of like what she was doing in The Empire Strikes Back when she and Han had their little love affair, and she raced away, and she's sitting in the cockpit, and all of a sudden,
yes,
she's interrupted by the Mynock attack.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, if you're gonna rewrite it, then rewrite a whole new novel, or do it from. I haven't read this either, so now I'm anxious to read it. Maybe it's written from an alternate angle.
Okay.
So Splinter of the Mind's Eye, but from another point of view.
Maybe they gave more things for the droids to do.
Maybe it's from the point of view of R2 and 3PO. Yeah. Okay, get on Amazon.
I literally, like, the droids are in the first scene, and then the last one, Vader's like, yeah, I told them to turn themselves off.
It looks like, I was wondering. I haven't heard 3PO complain for a good couple of days now.
And yet the novel ends with a line from 3PO.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
in fact, you know what? Let me read it. Okay, so finally, Luke and Leia, Vader falls into the pit. Luke and Leia make their way back to the entrance of the cave where they see the droids. I think they turned them back on, I guess. And then R2, start us up. We're getting out of here. The little D2 unit plugged into the crawler's ignition. Immediately, the engine responded. Paula swung the massive machine around, plunged into the surrounding jungle mists and cries of Mimban. Why, the faint receding voice of a certain droid could be heard to say, do I have the impression that everyone is laughing at me? ... And that's how the book ends.
No, there gotta be another page.
Right?
There's gotta be more to that.
So I was listening to this on YouTube. Someone did like a YouTube audiobook. I was listening to it and I was like, wait, that's the end. That was the end? Like, we haven't heard from 3PO this whole time, and he ends the novel.
It's kind of like the Faithful Wookiee animated short in the holiday special where you get to end on the big sitcom you laugh.
Oh, yes.
And Kevin quotes 3PO from Attack of the Clones, what a drag. And Dubak is saying, classic 3PO. And Kevin tags that with, I'm beside myself. See, 3PO, yes, they're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. I'm sorry, 3PO, they're laughing at you, not with you.
That made me giggle so hard in the movie theater. I'm beside myself. And I know it's like so silly, but it was so funny. Oh, I love it.
I didn't mind those little 3PO puns.
No, I thought they're so cute. I mean, they're a little lot, like one after the other, but that's part of the charm.
Yeah. You just run with it.
I'm beside myself. Oh.
All right, now, Sarah, you'll get excited about this.
Yes.
A music track titled "Splinter of the Mind's Eye" was composed by Jesse Harlan for the 2019 video game expansion Star Wars: The Old Republic Onslaught.
Sweet. That's awesome.
And I'll try to play a clip if I can find it.
Yes.
All right, now to round this out, merchandise. Has there been merchandise? No. Other than
Oh
comic books or
no.
graphic novels, there haven't been any kind of action figures. But if
Wow.
you go on Etsy, a lot of people have made the customized Luke and Leia
Oh,
action figures.
but no Holla action
No,
figures?
I want a holla.
What about Yuzum?
No Yazam either.
And no C3PO and R2 hiding and doing nothing.
No, none of that. But you know what? Once again, you merchandise this Ralph McQuarrie
Ah,
painting. Yeah, oh my goodness, you wouldn't be able to keep it on the shelf. All right,
you're so cute.
I
Aw.
just love it so much.
All right. Well, Skywalkers, we want to know what you think of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, so please share with us. But in the meantime, we're going to share some of your thoughts in shout
Shout
outs.
outs. Now, since Splinter of the Mind's Eye was such a big entity for the first generation of fans, because this is all we had a 20-page comic book, but now here is a full-length novel.
And it's new
And
Star Wars.
every fan of my generation has had to have this. And I know fans along the years have picked it up too, because it's an essential part of Star Wars. So we thought, wait a minute, I'm sure the Skywalkers have got a history with Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So we put it out on our Facebook group and our page, asking you for your memories and anything that you have to say about Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
So Dan Boris writes, I had this book back when it first came out, but don't think I ever finished it. This has prompted me to go back and start reading it again. Oh, good, Dan. I hope you have read it all in time by the time you're listening to this show. All right. Now, Matt Schott writes, I first became aware of this book in 1988 after a friend loaned it to me. I read it in study hall over 2 days and was instantly transported to Mimban. It is one of my favorite Star Wars books to this day. I still have a copy of it and reread it every couple of years. And the comic adaptation of it was almost exactly how I pictured it in my head.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Me too.
Now, I can
now,
just
oh,
go ahead. Now, Rex Gordon, or yeah, you read this one.
all right. Now, Rex Gordon says, I read it and thought it was weird. I was disappointed in no Han or Chewie, but it raised the crucial question of why could Luke swim and Leia could not?
That's right, she can't swim.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Luke had a swimming pool on Tatooine, which would have been filled with Tusken Raiders and Jawas. Now, Marvel Comics, of course, had it the other way. And now Rex continues, Marvel Comics, of course, had it the other way. Leia could swim, but Luke couldn't. Make mine Marvel. The novel dealt with the Force as best as it could, as it was still evolving the mythos.
I agree with that. That's a great statement.
And remember when we were reading the classic Marvel Star Wars comics, a lot of fans wrote in and said, hey, wait a minute, how come Luke can't swim? Because in Splinter of the Mind's Eye, he could swim.
Right.
And everything was backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Marvel said, you know, we're writing these at the same time, and there was no one cross-checking, so just
Plus,
go with it.
You would kind of figure that Luke couldn't swim.
Exactly.
Raised on a desert
yes.
planet.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. All right, now Pierre Kelly brings up a point. I think this book should be an ebook on Amazon. Me too, Pierre. Me too, but it's not. Or I wish they had a audiobook version, and they don't, because I tried to listen.
There is a audio version on YouTube, but it's read by an AI voice.
Yes.
Which was good. I didn't know it was an AI voice at first.
It's a little weird. Like it takes getting used to.
It doesn't know how to pronounce things like Kenobi.
Yeah.
I'll say Kenobi.
Uh-huh.
That's how you know it's like, oh, this is not a real voice.
And now Luke boy, blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's a little, but it's pretty good, and that's what I actually use to read it, because I have too much to do to like sit down and actually read a book.
Wait, hold on. Pierre Kelly says here in the Sky Chat, an AI voice is what the future is now. Sadly,
Crazy.
so maybe we're recording this as AIs.
Ooh. All right, Mike Moriarty says, I remember the first time I read it. Those early Star Wars novels had a weird vibe to them, But if you know your Star Wars history and the various parts of the lore, George had it in the back of his head. It was really cool to see them show up. And of course, the cover art is epic.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll never stop praising this cover art as the essential Ralph McQuarrie artwork piece. Sarah?
You can keep it in your office.
You know what? You can see your way out, okay?
Oh, okay. No lunch for you.
Good, because I can't eat. All right, let's close it out with Shane Miller, who says, I still have my original copy.
Nice.
Well, guess what, Shane? I still have my original copy too. Right in my hands.
Aww.
Not in Sarah's.
Well, that wraps up episode 407 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank all you Skywalkers who have contributed to this show, our Instagram, our YouTube, and anywhere else that we have a presence. We love you guys. And thanks for tuning into our live stream today.
Now, are you interested in our book, Today in Star Wars History, Parts 1 and 2? Well, autographed copies are now available from skywalkingthrough-neverland.com/book. And once again, we want to ask the Skywalkers about our next book. What title do you prefer? My Star Wars Fandom Journal or Skywalking Through My Star Wars Fandom?
Yes.
That's
let
coming.
us know.
That's coming soon within the next month. So tell us very quickly.
Yes. And also, if you haven't, please write a review for Today in Star Wars History Part 1 and 2 if you have, gotten the book and like it or not. Just write a review on Amazon. That really helps the book be seen.
Yeah, we've got like 10 more reviews in the last week.
Yes.
So thank you. And that really helps the visibility of the book with all those reviews. So thank you. And if you haven't written one yet, please write one.
Now we'd like to thank our sponsor, Small World Vacations, for their support. Are you thinking of a trip to Disney parks? Well, you can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them that Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, do you want to support Skywalking Through Neverland? Well, consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. The Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of our Zoom discussions, like what we're going to have tonight for the Bad Batch episode number 9. And you can find other discussions on Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Marvel shows like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, going back all the way to WandaVision. Well, head over there and listen to the shows and tell us if you like our discussions and if you agree.
Yeah, you can head to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at the options for being part of the Skywalking Force. And thank you so much to those of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force.
And if money's tight right now, you can support us in other ways, like once again writing a review for Today in Star Wars History. Go onto our Instagram, subscribe to all of our social media platforms. All of that really, really helps.
All right, guys, get ready. Get ready. This is where you come in. We are part of the Skywalking Network.
All together now. Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
the Max Effects Podcast,
the Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis,
and
Today in Star Wars History. Oh, people in the Sky Chat did respond.
Woohoo!
Skynet.
Yay!
Skynet.
You can find us on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Not TikTok. Why is that still on there? I guess we are on TikTok, but our last video was like 3 years ago. You can also find us on our Facebook group. Just search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland. Request to join the group or like the page. If you request to join the group, that's where we have our Zoom links for those Zoom discussions. So definitely go check that out. You can also email us, share@skywalkingthrough-neverland.com. And Kevin brings up a great point. See us all at WonderCon. Richard, you and I are going to be at WonderCon as along with part of our Skywalking network, Kevin Toft and Ernie
Moreno from Collectopolis. Now, some behind the scenes information on that one. We thought we were going to get a table, but the deadline was December when we were like so busy. So we're trying to piggyback off of the Los Angeles Public Library to see if we can use some of their table. They haven't gotten back yet. So if anyone knows anyone who's going to WonderCon and wants to split a table, we'll definitely pay for it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, whatever we can do to get there, because we were hoping to debut the Star Wars Fandom Journal there with the table, but we don't have a table yet. So if anyone knows anyone with a vendor table or in the artist alley,
yes,
please let us know. And also we submitted for a panel, so we're waiting to hear about that as well. Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember,
when a tooth pops out of your mouth, run. I'm not necessarily saying for the dentist, but just run.
Oh my goodness.
I don't wish that on anybody.
No. And Jeff, we love seeing you in Batu too. Yay.
And there you have it. Press pause, not stop. Pause.
Stop?
No. All right, back to saying, I just want to know if there'll be any do-backs in the fandom. Well, that's not for us to decide. That's for you to decide.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am so excited about this book. I'm not just saying that just to blow smoke, but I am so excited about this book. This book started off as a little workbook journal, but it blossomed to so much. This is a book I would definitely want just based on the cover. And yes, if you want to see not the final version of the cover, but 99.9% of it, look at the what's on Facebook.
You know what? Stay right there. I'm gonna just, because they're watching live, I can show them.
Sarah's gonna give you a sneak preview of an additional character we had added, and I am so excited about this. Once again, this is definitely a book I would want as a Star Wars fan. Has anyone ever gotten those workbooks or journals where it's not just blank pages, but there's a lot of checklists and questions that there might be some things you wouldn't expect to put on a checklist, but it's there, and we want to hear from you as well. Kevin is asking if there will be a hardcover. No, we're going to keep a soft cover just to keep the costs down. We're going to keep it under a certain amount of pages, and the soft cover, keep the price like $12?
Something like that. Yeah, just so we can have an option for just someone who maybe wants to support us but doesn't want to spend like $25 and up, for the other books. We just want an option for that. Okay, so let me open this up. Will there be a hardcover? Okay, got it. Copy for myself. Aw, yes, it's definitely a book great for Padawans. Thank you, Meredith. Yes. Okay, so, all right, this is the first time. Here, I don't need this anymore, do I? We're not recording. Help! Help! What's going on? Help!
I don't know.
Move it. Okay. All right. I thought this was on my iPad, but it's here.
Yeah, okay. So asking once again, if anyone knows anyone who's going to WonderCon who can split a table, please let us know. I'm so disappointed. So disappointed we didn't get a table.
All right.
Oh, take a look at this.
All right. So first of all, here, this is the first time you guys are seeing this. So we have my Star Wars Fandom Journal.
And
that's the front page.
What is that? That's the front page there. And this is the back cover.
The back page. Sorry. Oh, there we go. There's the back.
Do you notice a
something
little
there?
Skywalking Easter egg there? What?
Here.
My finger? Oh, wrong way.
I'll zoom in.
Okay. Yes. Hey, did behave so well.
Here is the back page. Look at them. Look at how cute it is. And if you follow us on social media at Skywalking Potter at Jedi Tink, you might have seen some of these pictures close up. But yeah, that's the yeah.
Now Kevin raises a good question that was in contention. No Ahsoka?
Yeah, not on the cover. So I want to like
basically humans are hard to draw.
Yeah. So I wanted to stick to more aliens or other
and I know
creatures and things.
Darth Maul, but he's wearing gloves and he's a little bit easier to draw.
Now within the book itself, there are going to be little sprinklings of images and characters as part of the illustration of it. And so I believe I have an Ahsoka in there. Yes. But I do agree. She is the best. And I am thinking now this, I don't know if I brought this up to you, but a lot of the characters that I've drawn for the novel would make cute like stickers.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be doing that.
Yeah. Stickers or buttons.
Now, since Ahsoka is a big part of fandom.
Yeah, she is. You want me to add? I don't know where we're gonna add her.
I'm thinking, what if we took out the Dianoga and like hit him somewhere else?
Oh, I love
the Dianoga too. I love him, but there's more Ahsoka fans than there are Dianoga fans. Are you loving Dianogas more than Ahsoka?
No, but she's hard. No, I'll figure it out.
But everyone is saying Ahsoka. Everyone.
She is very cute. Okay.
Now, we have the Dianoga right there, which is really, really cute and fun. That was one of the first ones you had done.
I did, yeah.
But I don't know, Skywalkers in the Sky Chat, who would you rather see, Ahsoka or a Dianoga?
Indeed. Yes, there's a section in there where you can add your friends.
And autographs.
Let us know, guys. Oh, you're so cute.
Okay.
Yes.
Do back to saying both. Both is good.
Yeah. I mean,
what if we put like the Dianoga like popping out?
No, they're too much on the back. No. No more on the back. No. Bad.
All right, then all right,
we'll discuss.
Yeah. A bounty catching journal. What would that be?
Oh yeah, because of that interesting. Well, maybe you're giving us an idea for like a Galaxy's Edge journal. That'd be fun. All right, guys. So
maybe it won't be submitted today to Amazon.
Well, so we can always submit, see how the blue looks. You know, we need to see how it prints, and then we can always do updates. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Kevin and Dubak and Meredith, they're all saying Ahsoka, Ahsoka. You're so amazing. All right, everyone.
You got that.
Yes, of course I did.
You're so amazing. Okay.
So.
All right.
Anyone have anything else?
I think that's everything, you guys. We better get this edited and out.
Yeah, maybe it'll be out like later on tonight.
Today. Yeah. We've done all the other stuff like the blog post and the picture. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to say goodnight. Look, it's the Encanto. Yay.
Yes.
So cute. Okay. All right. Looking at our Valentine's Day gifts. Hope everyone had a good Valentine's Day.
Hey. All right. End.
Yes.
All right, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for joining in. Thanks for weighing in. Bye.